Couple gets pregnant through IVF, then doctor calls with shocking news. Sean and Carolyn Savage fell in love and were more than excited to start their lives together, with many cute kids in the future. In 1993, the two adorable Ohio-bound lovebirds exchanged their vows and I-dos and tied the knot, committing their eternal love and to be at each other's side in sickness and in health. And while starting their family didn't seem like such a tough time, little did they know that they were about to be really tested when it comes to taking on life together, through thick and through thin. When it comes to getting married and having kids, each couple has their own pace and preference for when they're ready to take on new ventures in this wonderful life. But for Carolyn and Sean, they were happy to start expanding their family right off the bat. Within the first year of marriage, they welcomed to the world a beautiful baby boy, Drew. They instantly fell in love with their adorable little boy and were ready to give him another sibling to play with. Carolyn and Sean tried to get pregnant again naturally, but they weren't having any luck. However, they didn't give up on finding a light at the end of the tunnel, and they decided to try out ovulation stimulation shots, injections that aid in increasing the number of mature ovaries produced to heighten the chances of conception. Luckily enough, the procedure worked. 3 years after their first son was born, in 1997, the couple welcomed another beautiful baby boy, Ryan, into the family. Carolyn and Sean were slowly growing their happy family bigger and bigger, and pretty soon they were ready to have another little bundle of joy running around and playing with their beloved sons. However, the third time around seemed to be anything but a charm. The couple tried for years but still ended up having trouble getting pregnant again. Since they had success with baby Ryan, they turned to the ovulation stimulation shots procedure again. But alas, there was no luck this time around. Even with the difficulties they were going through and had already gone through in the past, they didn't want to toss in the towel and give up. So perhaps it was time to try out another alternative, they thought. By 2006, Carolyn underwent in vitro fertilization, IVF, a procedure that fertilizes sperm and eggs externally in a lab and then places them inside the mother's uterus. When Carolyn and Sean started the IVF process, they had no idea if they'd be able to have another child or not. But the blessed family was thrilled that it was a success, and that Carolyn was pregnant with their third child, and in 2008, they introduced their first daughter, Mary Kate, into the world. How exciting! But this wouldn't be the end of the pregnancy saga for the ambitious and loving Savage family. In fact, things would only get more intense in years to come. Carolyn and Sean were over the moon that they were blessed with 3 wonderful children and were able to create a big happy family together, no matter how difficult. After all, it's called a miracle of life, right? But miracles aren't always supposed to come so easily now, are they? At this point, Carolyn was nearing her 40s, which meant that if they were wanting another child in the future, her already slim chances of being able to conceive were decreasing each day, or so they all thought at least. With their newborn daughter born in 2008 and the biological clock ticking, come the new year, the Savage family decided they were ready for another little bundle of joy to raise and love. With a few of their frozen embryos left at the IVF clinic, the couple tried this procedure again a few months later since they had such success with their gorgeous daughter, Mary Kate. In February 2009, Carolyn found herself back in the doctor's office for a checkup to see if she was pregnant or not. And it turns out the IVF procedure was a success, and she was indeed pregnant again. Just a few hours later, though, the doctor would be calling back with some other unexpected news that nobody saw coming, not even the clinic themselves. When the doctor called Sean later that day, he notified them that Carolyn was actually pregnant with another couple's genetic child. Within minutes, they'd gone from over the moon to crushed to the ground. With a range of emotions and a million questions racing through his mind, he informed Carolyn of this bewildering update as soon as he got home. "We were overwhelmed. There was nothing we could do," Carolyn shared with CBN. The two were completely dumbfounded, but Carolyn did her best to stay calm and keep her emotions of grief and fear at bay as best she could. While they felt helpless, they needed to make one of the hardest decisions of their life, and quickly. But these decisions wouldn't just affect their family. They had the fate of the other couple in the clinic right there in their hands. Talk about a stressful plot twist. First, they were left to decide if they want to terminate or continue with the pregnancy to full term. Second, they had to decide what would happen to the baby after it was born. Do they fight for custody? Do they give the baby up? And third, what about the other frozen embryos that belonged to Carolyn? Time was ticking and the stressed couple was running out of time to make their decision. Their doctor advised them to terminate the pregnancy, but the couple just couldn't shake off tossing this amazing miracle away, even if it wouldn't be theirs to keep in the end. We just did what we'd want someone else to do for us. We knew to carry the baby to delivery would morally be the right thing," Carolyn confessed to CBN. The couple had decided to keep the baby, with a small glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, the other couple wouldn't be interested in keeping this child and they'd be able to call them their own. However, after speaking with a doctor, they found out that the couple, Paul and Shannon Morrell, were just as eager to be parents as Sean and Carolyn were. As hard as it was, come the end of that September, Carolyn gave birth to Paul and Shannon Morrell's new son, or as the Savage family called him, Little Man. "We tried to focus on the gift, not the loss," Carolyn emotionally expressed during her interview with CBN. Within a few days, the custody papers were signed and the Morrells were the official parents of baby Logan Morrell. And surprisingly, this wasn't the only big thing going on in the Savage family at the time. Before this baffling phenomenon of Carolyn accidentally getting pregnant with Little Man, the Savage family were still wanting another child of their own. So while Carolyn was a surrogate for the Morrells, the Savage family found a surrogate for themselves, a kind young lady named Jennifer. However, unfortunately, the same week that Little Man was born and given up to the Morrell family, they found out that Jennifer had an unfortunate miscarriage just 2.5 months into her first trimester. The Savage family was yet again full of so many emotions and felt their world crumbling beneath their feet. The Savage family had been through thick and thin, through sickness and health, and amazingly enough, Carolyn and Sean still didn't give up on their dream. They believed that perhaps there's a reason for everything, so they tried one last time to have a baby, even with the chances being even lower than ever, and were so incredibly grateful to have it be successful. We went on to have twin daughters with the help of a gestational carrier. Reagan and Isabella were born in August 2011 after our hero Jennifer Onash carried them to term. They completed our family. We thought they were our happy ending. I guess God or fate had additional plans for us, Carolyn eagerly shared with Today. Fast forward a decade to the early 2010s, and the Savage family of 7 are living their lives full of positivity, light, and a whole lot of love. One day though, Carolyn got the feeling that maybe, just maybe, she was somehow magically pregnant again. Carolyn confessed to Today, "When the first little line popped up on the home pregnancy test, I scolded myself. Of course it was only one line, I'm infertile. I've gone through countless fertility treatments over the past 2 decades, and with the exception of a couple IVFs, I've only seen 2 positive home pregnancy tests. What on earth was my 45-year-old self thinking? I couldn't be pregnant now, could I?" That's when she realized she was holding it the wrong way. "When I turned it right side up, I was startled. Turns out that one little line was the results line. It was on the left, not the right. It was the 'you're pregnant' line, not the control line I'd seen so many times before," she explained to Today. She rushed down to get a better look at the test with more lighting and couldn't believe that the test was showing she was indeed pregnant. Carolyn couldn't believe that she was actually pregnant, especially via the good old-fashioned way. She was in shock and kept asking herself, how's that possible? Later that night, Carolyn revealed the astounding anomaly to Sean, who was also blown away. There was still an issue. The chances of Carolyn carrying the baby to full term were slim to none. "We waited to lose this baby. Lo and behold, our first appointment passed with an ultrasound of a healthy 7-week-old fetus. Then our 11-week-old appointment passed with hopeful results from our nuchal translucency, a test that gives a risk ratio for chromosomal abnormalities. Finally, at 15 weeks, we received the results of our cell-free DNA study. Our baby was chromosomally typical and he's a boy," Carolyn emotionally expressed in Today. What incredible news! In 1994, the inspiringly positive and ambitious couple welcomed their very first son into the world. And exactly 2 decades later in 2014, they were getting ready to welcome their 6th and final child into the world, Nicholas Winston. But the Savages weren't the only ones who were savoring the moment and excited about the mind-blowing miracle. Back when the major medical mix-up with little Logan occurred, the couple's inconceivable and jaw-dropping story had gone viral and spread throughout the news. And even though the whole situation was a myriad of emotions and incredibly depressing at times, at the end of the day the couple kept their heads up and looked for the best. The family decided to share their sorrows and blessings with the world and wrote a book about it titled Inconceivable. So by the time Carolyn got pregnant with her 6th child naturally, everyone was incredibly excited, and the news caught on quickly to the miraculous and heartwarming end to their tremendous tale. It looks like life truly does work in mysterious and magnificent ways.